So there was this man full of wisdom, older, speaking about friendship and how to be a good friend. You have to be a good listener. And I like that. Like I could be listening and then drift in my own thoughts. Not even with just friends, but even within my friendship with Jesus. I'll be talking, doing more talking than actually listening. You can't be a good friend if you're doing all the talking. You also have to listen. So he was talking about how having a friendship with Christ and that we are no longer called servants, but we are called friend. And in any relationship and any friendship, there is communication. So how do you communicate with Christ? How is your friendship with Christ? In prayer, in your head. But he said something that really caught my mind. He was like, write it on paper. Have a conversation with God. Set it up for him to answer. Ask your question and set it up for him to answer your question. And just listen. Because a lot of times we talk, but we do not be still and listen, which I have a problem with. So after that, I'm just sitting here thinking in my head, because I'm always talking to the Lord in my head, but I'm never listening. I'm like, what question could I ask the Lord? What question could I ask? What question could I ask? It was so bad that I was drying my clothes. I put them in two separate dryers. So as I'm watching the clothes go in circles, I'm literally watching the clothes go in circles. And I'm sitting thinking like, what kind of question could I ask, Lord? Lord, what could I ask? I take the clothes out and I would know. So I was getting ready to write it down. I was like, you know what? Let me write it down in my notes. But I didn't have my phone. I'm like, oh, that's okay. I left my phone in the car. I take the clothes out of the dryer. My phone was in the dryer on high heat for 35 minutes. I couldn't do nothing but laugh. I wasn't even mad. I was just like, oh my goodness. And the lady around me, she was like, oh my God, we didn't even hear any clicking. No clicking sound, no nothing. That something was in there. So I said, well, what can you do? So my husband was putting on the AC to help it cool off, and it came back too because we made it to our destination on time. And I was like, we made it because I'm kind of like a type B mom, I just found out. So we made it to our destination on time. So as I'm sitting there, I'm just saying, what could I ask? So I'm walking around and I'm on my phone and my notes and I'm setting up a question, because he said set the question up and then set up the answer saying like your name, so Yarnicia, and then like just listen and write. And then you could also say, Lord, I feel like I'm making this up. And then, and write what comes to you. Like just listen. So I started when I was walking, I was like, I wrote Lord. And I was beginning my question, but then I said, no. I said, Lord, my friend. And I wrote my question. I'm going to show you here, because it's just so, oh my gosh. So the Spirit of God is just amazing. So then I set up the answer. I set up his response, and I just said, Yarnicia, because he calls me Yarnicia. Like, he doesn't call me Yarny. Every time, like, he's spoken to me through someone, he says, Yarnicia. Stern. So, when someone say your real name, it's like, oh, you got your attention. So I just put Yarnicia. I said, Yarnicia, my dear one. And then I just left it. I'm like, that's all I got. So as I'm trying to listen to see what he's saying, I get in the car and this song comes on. I'm going to show it to you here. Now you see what the beginning of it says, Lord and friend. This is literally not even a minute later. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, Lord, you something else. Then I still didn't go back and write his answer, because I feel like I have a hard time listening. So the next day I went to go read my devotion. And as I'm reading the devotion, it hits it on the head. So I'm going to read the devotion to you. Okay, so before I read this devotion, so my kids have been involved in Spirit Week all week, and I've been getting everything because of my daughter. My son could care less. And I was just like, this girl is something else. Let me call my mom and tell her about this. Now, a couple weeks ago, my mom wanted to give me some money for my son to get for Robux. I said, no, he needs to make sure. I need to make sure he does good on his spelling test first. No. She said, well, don't you want me to send it? I said, no, do not send it. No, So I called her and I was talking to her about my daughter, about how high class she is, how just sedity, like how just she has traits of my mother. And hoping that my mom was like, you know, Yarny, you have been doing a lot. Y'all been buying all this stuff for this Spirit Week. Here, I'm going to cash app you. But she didn't read the room. She didn't read the room, y'all. As I was telling her my issues, hoping she would get this, I would get sympathy. She wasn't reading the room. So she was like, okay, well, I'm finna laugh. I was like, okay, Mom, have a good night. So I'm in Walmart getting stuff. So now, jumping to the devotion. This is what the devotion said when I went to read it the next morning, October 31st. Stop talking about your physical problems. I want you to stop talking to people about your woes, trying to get their sympathy. Stop commiserating over the negative. The trouble you speak of comes from your adversary. When you advertise his work, who are you glorifying? Me? With a question mark. I'm your loving, giving God, all powerful and good. I hold the answers to all your needs. Talk to me, dear one, and let me calm your troubled heart. Let me help you and heal you, for this is my will. Every blessing is within you. I'm going to stop it there. Dear one. Now, listen to what I said. It said, dear one. And remember, it said, talk to me. So now, what I put in my response, in his response, when I set it up just saying Yarnesia, the first thing came to me, said, Yarnesia, my dear one. And then I go to my devotion and he says, talk to me, dear one. Let me show you. So that alone just confirmed that my God is all knowing. Talk to me. Was that not beautiful? I mean, that's all I needed. So now here today, I'm saying, well, what question I'm going to ask today? And I just literally asked another question, right? And it came to me. I was like, Lord, I'm tired of this. You know what I heard? You know what first thing that came to me? Be content. See you in the next video. Hope this bless you as it has literally blessed me.